All right, welcome back to it as we kick off another smoking hour here of the Steve Gruber Show. Glad you're along for the conversation. Fighting for you every single day from the foxhole of freedom for this country. It's a movement. Make sure you're on board the truth train every single day. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, Michigan's empty state Senate seat. It's political, of course. Governor Whitmer not here to do much about it. Why? Well, number two, it's because, according to one Michigan rep, she's enjoying her days of being a spring breaker in college. That's Ken Borton of Gaylord, Michigan, ripping on her. And number three, what about this episode? What about this episode of U.S. intelligence agencies leaking information about the attacks in Yemen? Well, top intelligence leaders will testify about global threats amid questions over Yemen strike report. Leaders of the U.S. intelligence agencies will appear before the Senate Intelligence Committee today to testify about global security threats facing the country. The hearing, set to begin at 10 o'clock, will feature testimony from Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, FBI Director Kash Patel, National Security Agency Director General Timothy Haw, and Defense Intelligence Agency Director Lieutenant General Jeffrey Cruz. The testimony comes a day after it was revealed that top Trump officials inadvertently included Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor of The Atlantic, in a group chat on the encrypted messaging app Signal about the United States' highly sensitive plans to bomb Houthi targets in Yemen. Accounts appearing to be Gabbard and Ratcliffe both participated in the message thread, according to Goldberg, but he is not releasing any of that information. He says it's because it's national security. In the group chat, which was reportedly started by Mike Waltz, the national security advisor, Ratcliffe allegedly shared information that might be interpreted as related to actual and current intelligence operations. Goldberg wrote, the National Security Council said Monday in a statement to CBS News that the message thread appears to be authentic. I don't know who the National Security Council is. While the annual hearing is expected to focus on threats posed by China, Russia, and Iran, the intelligence chief is likely to be grilled about the security lapse. Mark Warner of Virginia, the top Democrat on the committee, said the story shows the Trump administration is playing fast and loose with our nation's most classified information. It makes all Americans less safe. Not as unsafe as having a guy who doesn't know where he is, pooping in his own diapers and having the nuclear codes and an auto pen to run the country. Not that dangerous, but that's whataboutism, right? Look, if this happened, it's wrong. I just cut right to it. If this is true, if this happened, it's a huge mistake. It's inexcusable. The intelligence officials also set to testify Wednesday to the House Intelligence Committee. The hearings coincide with the release of an annual threat assessment from the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. The 2024 report said the U.S. faced an increasingly fragile global order, and over the next year it would be strained by great power competition, regional conflicts, and transnational challenges. At last year's Senate hearing on global threats, the Biden administration's top intelligence officials stressed that U.S. assistance to Ukraine was necessary for its survival against Russia's invasion. And the U.S. support for Ukraine also sent a message of deterrence to China. No, it doesn't. China doesn't care about that. I don't believe. President Trump campaigned on ending the war in Ukraine, but Ukraine once again yesterday walked out of ceasefire negotiations in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Recently declined to comment on whether the U.S. would prevent China from taking Taiwan by force while he's president. Mr. Trump also putting pressure on Iran to negotiate a new nuclear deal. By the way, back to this whole leaked information. The stunning revelation that top administration officials accidentally included a reporter in a group chat discussing war plans triggered furious discussion inside the White House. That Mike Waltz might need to be forced out. Those on the left, of course, jumping on it. They've had nothing to jump on in 50 days or more with the Trump administration, as we've been working furiously to destroy the leftist globalist plans in Washington. So they finally got something to sink their teeth into, and sink their teeth they will. A senior administration official allegedly telling Politico yesterday afternoon that they are involved in multiple text threads with other administration staffers on what to do with Waltz following the bombshell report that the top aide inadvertently included Atlantic editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg in a private chat discussing a military strike on Houthis. Somebody has to explain this to me. How did he get included in there? If this happened on Signal, don't you have to add people? Was it really reckless to be on Signal? I mean, that's what people do, right? Half of them say he shouldn't survive or won't survive. We'll find out. We will find out. The second Trump administration clearly made a decision to move fast and break things. This comes from MSN, by the way, so this can be very one-sided and anti-Trump. Largely gone are the establishment Republican figures in steady hands that sometimes resisted President Donald Trump during his first term. In their place are a bunch of people with less subject matter and governmental experience, but with the zeal of MAGA true believers, eager to implement Trump's complete governmental overhaul and to bust through the traditional guardrails in the process. The result is a very and increasingly sloppy first 2 months by any objective measure. Whose objective measure? MSN? Microsoft? Please? It was bound to have a mistake, of course. No question. Let's see here. And this is here are the headlines from Drudge, of course. Houthi rebels launched missiles at U.S. aircraft carrier in Blitz. Didn't work, didn't touch it at all. Axis of resistance. Whose side are they on? Fury at plot to extort Europe. From Goldberg, Trump administration accidentally texted me its war plans. Well, amateur hour. A journalist. Well, I mean, they make a fair point here. The point being that this mainstream journalist cannot be trusted. That's my takeaway. These people cannot be trusted. Well, there is that. There is that, now isn't there? This part of the program brought to you, by the way, by my good friends at Wolverine Water. Wolverine Water Systems, Michigan's number one water purification company. Wolverine Water. If you want the best, go to WolverineWaterSystems.com. Get a reverse osmosis drinking water system for your house. Best thing I ever did. I did it at both my places. My little getaway place on the northern compound and my main compound down south. Reverse osmosis. You want this. Trust me. WolverineWaterSystems.com. You tell my good friend Paul Mahaney I sent you on over. WolverineWaterSystems.com. I'll take a break and be right back.